Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We would like to thank Brandy Warren for coming and visiting us from Team
Absolutely.
McGreevy. Thank
Team
you so
McGreevy.
much. Thank you for joining us. She is taking the time to spend time with us here to answer some of the questions from Ward A, from healthcare-related questions. So
Yes.
thank you, Brandy.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You right?
I want to thank Dr. Aguila.
Yeah, Ben, I guess good.
Ben,
Yeah.
I want to thank Ben for hosting this forum. I think it's so important for us to be informed and engaged in our communities and really knowing who the candidates are. So thank you for doing
Very
this.
welcome, very
Thank you.
welcome. So without much further ado, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the questions that the constituents ask. I've been
Sure.
investing for the last few weeks.
Okay.
So the first question is about access to healthcare and equity.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare access continues to be a challenge for many in Ward A, especially seniors, folks with disabilities, and families who depend on local clinics or
Mhm.
community programs. What steps would you be able to take to improve access towards affordable, high-quality healthcare for services for our residents in Ward A?
Mm-hmm. So, great question. And I think ultimately we need a multi-pronged approach, right? So, the one issue is high quality healthcare. Then, once we have the high quality healthcare here, we actually need access to the healthcare. And so, I would say that we would need to work with local business owners. We would need to incentivize business opportunities to attract local healthcare businesses to Ward A. But then we need to ensure that there is access to them. And so what does that look like? Rideshare services, better public transportation, to ensure that once we get the services here, our constituents and residents and neighbors can actually access them. And so we need to work on incentivizing business opportunities, but then actually ensuring that there is access to the healthcare.
I think that was very insightful, because as somebody who's been doing this for a bit now, we do have folks that we want to serve,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes the bottleneck seems to be we're able to utilize local transportation service at the county level, and then there would be delays in them being able to come in because we would have to book out 2 weeks in advance.
Wow.
There would be cancellations, and the sentiments from some of our constituents was there's just not enough drivers.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough buses. So that is one of their choke points stopping us from getting to services like mine. So
Yeah.
thank you for considering that, that
Mhm.
policy procedure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Moving on to our second question.
Mm-hmm.
So our second question is one from our Ward A residents that is from the Country Village area, and she was very grateful that the park playground was recently refurbished. So
Mhm.
that was nice. But she was noting that there was still a lot of unused and neglected space nearby, like the old tennis court, the
Mhm.
batting cages, you see outgrowth there. And there's a large concrete lot there that's just behind the playground, it's just unused.
Right.
They ask, what policies or initiatives do you think you could help Ward A make so that they have better use of these open spaces to support recreation, fitness, and overall community health?
Mm-hmm. Another great question. And so, first, I want to say that I know the value and benefit of that space firsthand. My husband and I, we raised our sons here in Jersey City, and they played baseball, right, at College Little League for at least 8 years. And when I say they played, I mean they played like from March to October. So we spent a lot of time on that field. And most recently, when I visited the field, I was very, very disappointed, quite dismayed, in fact, to see how the field was not in use, to see how the weeds were overgrown, to see how the concrete area that you referenced is, the concrete is broken, and that too presents a hindrance for children and families wanting to utilize that much needed open space. Now, you started with the fact that the playground is now in use, but that brings up a really, really important point, that we need a maintenance plan. And so we need to take inventory, look at all of our city parks, and publish a maintenance plan. Be completely transparent with our constituents, with the residents, and say, this is when this park will be updated. This is to what degree this park will be updated. And when I say what degree, I mean when you look at that area in Country Village, there's the playground, but then there's the baseball field. There's also that what used to be hockey. I understand there were some considerations about it being used for basketball, but the space itself does need to be used. We need the outdoor space. There's so much development going on. We need to ensure that our families and primarily our children and our seniors have access to clean, safe outdoor spaces. It's essential for our development in our youth, and then for our seniors to take advantage of as well. But honestly, for all of us, right? When we think about health and wellness and well-being, we all need that outdoor space. And when we have an administration who has neglected these spaces in specific pockets and areas of the city, we know that we need to do better and we can do better. And so I say we need to implement a maintenance plan, be transparent with our constituents, publish that plan in the beginning of every year, and that way we can be held accountable.
As a physical therapist who just understands the need for public green spaces to keep people healthy, that's just making me smile. So I'm hoping this is something that people can really tune in as somebody can help with their health.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Brandy. For our next question, is sort of related to that, is, one of the residents in Crossgate Street mentioned that there is a challenge with the uneven pavement. So not even the green space, just the throughways, which makes walking difficult and unsafe, especially for seniors or those with mobility impairments, the folks on walkers and canes. They sometimes say they would rather walk on the street rather than walk on the pavement, right? So from your perspective, what equitable and practical solutions do you propose to improve pedestrian safety, pavement access for Ward A residents?
And so it goes back to my previous answer, right? It's about having a plan. It's about being proactive and not reactive. And so we would need to take inventory and know which streets would be paved when. Similarly, we would need to look at all of the sidewalks and know when they would be repaved. This is a city issue. It does need to be addressed. And as the person who posed the question stated, that becomes a quality of life issue for children, for seniors, more so for seniors, but for children who may not be looking. And when we think about our seniors, as a physical therapist, I know you know all about walking and the gait and how that one fall could really be the beginning of, unfortunately, a downward spiral with other related health issues. And so we want to be proactive. That would be my response. Be proactive in ensuring that our streets and our sidewalks are paved properly and timely. We need to have a response plan in addition to having a proactive plan.
Thank you, Brandy. So those are all my questions for my constituents for now.
Okay.
We did have time for one more question,
Sure.
not healthcare related,
Okay.
because they have a lot of questions, and I'm sure the other forums will cover them very nicely.
Right. And questions are good. We welcome questions because that's what I've been really, really big on throughout this campaign. Engaging with residents. I have made it a point to walk every corner of Ward A. Ward A expands a large part of the city, and I've been very, very hyper focused on knocking on every single door that I can, because my perception of local government is that I can't be your representative if I'm not directly in tune with you. And so I've been meeting every resident that I can on their step, on their porch, at their door, in order to have a very, very clear sense of what it is you'd like to see done in this city and what direction we need to take. So I appreciate the questions.
Thank you. So we're going to the bonus round because we have some more time. So this is actually not a healthcare related question, but some of my students care about this question.
Okay.
And the question was, what specific steps would you be able to take to make local school and youth programs more equitable across neighborhoods in Jersey City?
Across neighborhoods. And so the question is about across neighborhoods in Jersey City. I want to start with the premise that as a potential Ward A councilwoman, I will be laser focused on Ward A, right? I'll be laser focused on the needs of residents in Ward A. But as it relates to schools, can you repeat the question? The question was,
how would you be able to make local school and youth programs more equitable across neighborhoods?
Okay, local schools and youth programs more equitable across Ward A. I was so focused on Ward A, I lost part of the question. However, What I've done professionally over the last 24 years is serve the NJCU community in the College of Education. And so, in my current role, I am the director of the Center for Teacher Preparation. And what that means is I work very, very closely with principals and superintendents and teachers in our local schools, in Jersey City schools, but also throughout Hudson and Essex counties. And so, what I would do is leverage the relationships that I've cultivated over these 24 years in order to bring our educators to the table. In a conversation we had earlier, I made it very clear that the Board of Education is completely autonomous of Jersey City municipal government, right? But I do believe firmly that it's past time that we come together for the benefit of our students. And so, what I would do is work with school leaders. I would work with the superintendent, with the principals, assistant superintendents. I would make every effort to do that in order to ensure that we can reopen our schools for after school programs, that we can reopen our schools in the evening for community programs. Another point of emphasis would be for me is really looking at the children as a students holistically. And so when we seek to serve the child, many times we have to understand that we also have to serve the families and the communities from which they hail. And so while we are serving students, we also need to be offering programs and opportunities for parents. And so that's one way that I would work with the schools, reopening the schools, allowing the schools to return to being a community hub, a source of education, not just for students from 8 to 3, but for the greater community throughout the day.
Thank you, Ms. Brandy, and that was very insightful. We learned a lot about you and your positions in healthcare and non-healthcare matters. If you'd like to go ahead and close with our audience and share with them, your story about this campaign and what's done for you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So, I am Brandy Warren, as we shared earlier. I am a candidate for City Council here in Ward A. Totally grateful to Dr. Ben for inviting me today because we are all members of this community and we need to work together. I love his perspective in being so forward in wanting to pool community resources together, and that's what this campaign for me has been all about. I told you earlier, I've been very, very closely in tune with residents because I want to be at the forefront. But what that requires is that me actually listening and learning and understanding what the needs in the community are. I can tell you that I'm Jersey City born and raised. My husband and I, we have raised our children here. I live in the house that I grew up in. I am in this race because, quite honestly, I found myself dissatisfied with the quality of life. And when I say quality of life, I'm considering all things from cleanliness to public safety to programming and resources. I am one of 6 children raised by a single mother. And so I know firsthand the value of having programs and resources in your community, but also, as we spoke earlier, having access to them. I think a role of a council person is so important, and we appreciate passion and we appreciate enthusiasm. But one thing that distinguishes me is my 24 years of service in public education. I began at NJCU as a graduate assistant. Today, I am a director. I've worked my way up professionally, and I'd be honored to work my way for Jersey City residents. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Brandy. Hello, and thank you everyone for listening today. Today, we are so blessed that we have Miss Pam Johnson from Team O'Day visiting us here today, and she will be introducing herself. Then afterwards, we'll be asking a few questions. And again, we are so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. My name is Pam Johnson. I am Team O'Day Ward A City Council candidate. So happy to be here, Life in Motion. And thank you so much, Ben, for inviting us here, me and my audience, because I do have some people in the audience. Y'all can make some noise. Yes. Yes. And so, yeah, was happy to get the invite and just definitely wanted to come and engage and answer any questions that you may have or the constituents of Ward A. I am a proud Ward A born and raised resident. Okay. I'm proud to be continuing my work in Ward A and throughout Jersey City for that matter, but specifically, focusing on Ward A. I'm educated here, work here, and had a time back in the day running around on the blocks of Ward A. In my neighborhood, I was born on Wade Street. I currently live on Princeton between Cater and Danforth Avenue for a very long time. I think over 20 years, right?
Near the car wash.
Right, Mom? And yeah, so I'm just happy to still be where I'm born and raised, still be able to provide services there, still be able to be a neighbor there, and still be able to make some change there. So thank you for having me, Ben, and I'm ready to go.
Thank you, Miss Pam. So without further ado, question one. Healthcare access continues to be a challenge for many in Ward A, especially seniors, people with disabilities, and families who depend on local clinics or community programs. What steps would you take as a potential Ward A representative to improve access to affordable, high quality healthcare services for all residents in our ward?
Absolutely. I mean, healthcare is a big issue. Making sure that our seniors, making sure that our working families, our youth have access to healthcare, affordable healthcare is absolutely on my agenda. I've focused locally previously, and I will continue to do so, providing services to nonprofit organizations, doing the heavy lifting to make sure that our seniors and our youth and our working families have access to healthcare, making sure that I get behind urgent cares that are opening up and small businesses that are really helping and doing the heavy lifting as far as opening up rehabilitation centers and therapeutic centers and making sure that you get backing from me locally, right? Also, I'm no stranger to advocating on the state and federal level. Before, Jersey City and the state of New Jersey saw that violence was a health concern and to be treated like a disease, we had to advocate for that. We had to lobby with the state and the federal government. We had to go to Trenton to make sure that that access came down from the federal and state government to Jersey City. And we did that more than 10 years ago. And local organizations are capitalizing from that funding and providing prevention and intervention techniques when it comes to violence prevention. And I'll do the same thing with healthcare. I'll make sure that I'm able to foster those relationships, negotiate those, deals, and make sure that we're bringing forth true healthcare, affordable healthcare to Jersey City.
Thank you. That sounds like somebody who cares locally but impacting at the state and national level.
Absolutely. I mean, they all trickle down, right? So you have to know what's happening statewide, federal wide, to know what's going to come to us in Jersey City, what's going to affect us, especially our seniors and our working families.
Thank you so much. That was some great answers. I'm going to move on to question two.
Thank you.
Community health use in public spaces. One of our Ward A residents shared that while the Country Village Park playground was recently refurbished, thank you, there's still a lot of unused and neglected space nearby, like the old tennis court area and also the batting cages and the large concrete lot behind the playground. They ask, what policies or initiatives do you think you could help Ward A make so that they can make better use of these open spaces to support recreation, fitness, and overall community health?
So I've gotten this question many times, right? And I'm already doing that. So we targeted local spaces that were going unused, even spaces owned by the city, to make sure that we utilize those spaces for recreation, even if it's an outdoor program for seniors with yoga, meditation, healing techniques, right? This is a healing center, right? And so we want to make sure that we're utilizing those outdoor spaces. So that does mean creating policies around those spaces and adopting those spaces specifically for recreation, right? Specifically for things that we need to use for our community to make sure they're being able to be healed correctly, to make sure that we're engaging, right? I was just recently down in that tennis court by Country Village, and I got to enjoy a community barbecue that they do every year with some of the folks who've been living here 20, 30 years. And they were talking about the space going underutilized, right? So I want to make sure that there is no underutilized space because our youth and our seniors and our working families deserve a space that's not only just a gathering space, but a space where we can provide health and wellness, awareness, right? Festivals and things that will bring joy and will bring healing to the community, right? And so utilizing those spaces mean a lot to me, and I will make sure I dedicate my time as your councilwoman to make sure that we're focusing on that.
Thank you. There's going to be care being given to our public spaces, which I, as a physical therapist, am always a fan of.
Yes, I mean, and we have to get these spaces ready to be able to just thrive, right? And so that takes also cleanups, right? There are a lot of trash in these spaces that are going underutilized. So we've been managing to make sure that we are organizing neighbors, residents of Ward A, to focus on their neighborhoods so they are cleaning those spaces, maintaining those spaces, but also organizing and working together to bring artists in those spaces, to bring doctors in those spaces. We've already partnered with the Jersey City Medical Center in the past, and they brought in doctors for awareness for epilepsy and breast cancer and just mental health in general. So we want to make sure that we're always utilizing our open spaces for the good.
Very exciting ideas coming from Ms. Pam. Okay. And then our final healthcare related question. sorry, a second healthcare related question is another resident from Crossgate Street mentioned challenges with parking and pavement access.
Yeah,
The uneven pavement, which makes walking difficult and unsafe, especially for seniors or those with mobility issues.
absolutely.
From your perspective, what equitable and practical solutions do you propose to improve, pedestrian safety for all Ward A residents?
Absolutely. And I'm glad that question came up. Over the years, I've been touring Ward A. Like I said, I'm born and raised here, right? So I try to leave no street unturned
Mhm.
so I can see if there's issues that need to be addressed.
Mhm.
And we know that there are infrastructure issues that have been gone neglected for quite too long. And so I would make sure that our roads are being paved in a timely fashion, that if we're digging, that we make sure that we're utilizing that time to dig and identify the problems, but we're not continuing to dig year after year after year, because the streets will never be repaired fully if we're
Mhm.
not finished digging.
Mhm.
Right. So when they dig in an area, even mine on Princeton Avenue, that was had some work done in COVID for about 3 to 4 times, they never fully, complete the area or the street when they're repaving if they have to go back in. We know
Mhm.
that we have a lot of lead pipes underground and that the city's been working on that. So I would like to talk to the MUA, talk to our folks in different departments in the city to make sure that we're not, I want to make sure we're responsibly maintaining our streets, but also in areas that when we're digging, that we're understanding like how far are we going to go with this, and are we addressing issues at that crucial time. Right, I don't want to make sure that residents are being inconvenienced over and over again. Parking is limited, so if you're digging in front of an area for 2 years, those homeowners and residents and tenants and renters, they have no place to go but to park 3 or 4 blocks away. So I want to make sure that I understand the plans that are laid out for Jersey City to make sure that those areas are who are affected by unpaved streets and streets that are just bumpy roads like roller coasters, that we are addressing the need in that neighborhood of Ward A and talking to the residents to understand what they want to see happen and how quick they want it to turn around. And then
Mhm.
we can work with our local city departments to get it done.
What I'm hearing is if you guys will dig it, you're supposed to fix it afterwards. So
Absolutely.
that's what I'm hearing, which is
Absolutely.
really nice, right? I'm going to take one last question, like a slight pivot. We're going to go to
Sure.
education.
Okay.
And then the question was, what specific steps would you take to make local school and youth programs more equitable across neighborhoods?
That's a great question. Already taking those steps.
Mhm.
So my organization, the Anti-Violence Coalition of Hudson County, as I stated before, we advocated on a state and federal level to receive funding that not only trickled down to us, but to several organizations who are now doing violence prevention, intervention, mentoring, and peer-to-peer relationship and mental health awareness. Right. And what I will do is to make sure that we're partnering with those local nonprofits who are already in the schools. However, the schools have to pay for staff to be there at late hours to make sure that they're opening up the gyms and opening up the schools after hours. So I would make sure that we have dedicated city dollars from community development and other areas within the city because they have the funding. We just have to make sure that our budget reflects what we are actually wanting to have happen in our community.
I love that.
Right. And youth and recreation and seniors and working families, transportation, parking, those should all be issues. Employment and making sure we're not laying off because we're not hiring them on grants. We're
Mm.
hiring them with exact city funding.
Mm.
So I would make sure that our budget reflects what's most important to the residents of Ward A. And if youth and recreation and parking and things of that nature, if that's important, I'm talking to the residents. So
Mhm.
I'm going to make sure that I do my job when I'm at the table to negotiate that and vote for things that are for the residents of Ward A.
What I'm hearing there was like nothing about us without us, which I
That's
really
right.
appreciate that
That's
you.
right.
So thank you so much for your time.
Thank
So
you.
if there's like any closing message you would have for our audience, go ahead.
Absolutely. So, Pam Johnson, Ward A candidate running with Team O'Day, Our City, Our Choice. Vote for Pam Johnson 3C. And let me tell you why. I'm going to tell you why because it's very easy. I ran in 2017, and although not successful, my why then is my why now. Our Ward A community feels neglected, and I don't want us to feel that way anymore. I'm born and raised in Ward A. I feel your pain. I've been doing the heavy lifting with my organization and with the residents of Ward A, one neighborhood at a time. And I want to make sure that I'm able to do that on a different level, working in city government as your Ward A City Council representative. So please don't vote for anyone who promises what they will do. Vote for someone who has a track record of what they've done, what they continue to do, and how they will push forward in the future. Pam Johnson, 3C, Team O'Day.
On behalf of my team, thank you so much, Miss Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Hello and welcome everyone, and we would like to welcome you to this final part of our interviews for Ward A candidates. Today we are blessed to finish up our rounds by having Miss Denise Ridley from Team Solomon here with us today. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Miss Denise.
Sure. I'm Councilwoman Denise Ridley. I've been the councilwoman for the Ward A section of Jersey City, the best ward in Jersey City, for the last 8 years. I am running for re-election for a third term. I am the first person of color elected to the Ward A seat. And if I am re-elected this time, I will be the longest serving Ward A council person. So I am here asking you to please vote me back in so that we can finish the work that we've started together. This time around, we really want to focus on making sure that we improve recreation in our ward. We want to make sure that we improve the relationship between the council and the public safety department. We also want to make sure that we continue to build affordable housing right here in Ward A. We've already started that with the Bayfront project, and we need to continue that movement. So 9C, Denise Ridley.
Thank you, Ms. Denise. So without further ado, we are going to ask three healthcare related questions, same as we did for the other candidates, and they are as follows. Healthcare access continues to be a challenge for many in Ward A, especially seniors, people with disabilities, and families who depend on local clinics or community programs. What steps would you take to further improve access to affordable, high quality healthcare services for all residents in our ward?
Great. Well, I'll talk about one of the steps we've taken recently. A lot of residents may be aware that we are in the process of losing another hospital. When I was younger, we had multiple hospitals here in Jersey City. Right here in Ward A, we had Greenville Hospital, not far from here, right down the street. We had St. Francis Christ Hospital, Jersey City Medical Center. And now, with the threat of Christ closing, we only have the medical center. So one of the things that I did at our last council meeting was to stand with the union workers over at Christ Hospital to encourage the state to give the proper funding for them to be open. A lot of the charity care that they do there is putting a burden on that hospital, but we know how important charity care is. So that's just one of the things in general in the city. But we also have to work with our health department. Our health department here at the municipal level has a lot of services for residents, and I think we can do a better job of promoting some of those. We have a clinic, we have access to WIC. They do a lot of classes for breastfeeding for new moms. You can go there and get different tests done at the clinic. So I think that we really need to make sure that residents are aware of their options here related to healthcare.
Thank you, Ms. Denise. That comes really close to home because one of those union workers is a colleague of mine. I used to work in Christ Hospital, so that's a very real thing for me you just shared. So thank you. All right, I'm going to move on to question two. Question two is, one of our Ward A residents shared that while the Country Village Park playground was recently refurbished, thank you, there's still a lot of unused and neglected space nearby, like the old tennis court area and the large concrete lot, the abandoned batting cages behind the playground. They ask, what policies or initiatives do you think you could help Ward A start so you can make better use of these open spaces to support recreation, fitness, and overall community health?
Great, good question. So when we started the Country Village Park project, the council approved to redo that entire park. There was grant funding that was supposed to be coming from the state through our recreation department. That funding did not come through at that time with the recreation director. And I actually had to step in and kind of go over her head and ask the city to find funding from other sources within the city instead of waiting on that state grant to come through. And that's how we got that playground done in time for summer. So we do still have plans to build out the rest of that park. Some of the suggestions for some of the empty space you talked about were pickleball courts.
Very popular right now.
Yes, very popular right now. And making better use of the ball field that's there. We know that College Little League utilizes that ball field, and enrollment in that has dwindled a little bit, but we're in talks with Anthony Delfino. I spoke with him recently. You know, he heads up that College Little League, and we want to activate that space more. So definitely the plans have not died. We are looking to see what the best use of those spaces are, and then we will definitely build out the rest of that park. And in addition, not necessarily park related, but related to that blank space. The state has mandated that we do new lead lines, new water lines for people. So if you have lead pipes, they are replacing them. MUA is starting that project in the Country Village area now, and some residents have asked if they could utilize the empty space in the park for parking, like we allowed them to do during COVID. So just like I set it up for COVID, I'm going to set it up for this project so that residents can be able to park while this construction is going on.
And that parking space request was more than once repeated by some of our
Yes,
constituents and patients here. So yes, well
definitely.
done, well done. All right, and then our final health-related question. Another resident from Crossgate Street mentioned challenges with parking access as well as uneven pavements, which makes walking difficult and unsafe. Gee, I wonder if a PT cares about that, especially for seniors or those with mobility issues. From your perspective, what equitable and practical solutions do you propose to improve parking access and pedestrian safety for all Ward A residents?
Okay, well, we know parking is a huge issue throughout the city. It's definitely a huge issue in Ward A, Country Village. One of the first things that we did when I first took office in 2018 is we tried to tackle parking head on, and we added close to 100 new parking spots in Ward A. I know it doesn't seem like it, but we did. That's how bad parking has become. Actually, right here on Sullivan Drive, if you remember, you couldn't park on the right hand side here, the side closest to this facility. And so one of the first things we did was look at this street and try to figure out why there were no parking signs there. Nobody really knew why they were there or where they came from. So we removed them. Now there's parking all along here on Sullivan Drive. So that was one of the things we did in this area. A lot of the residents had concerns about cars blocking the sidewalk when they're in their driveways, and then they had concerns about parking enforcement being extra hard on Country Village. A lot of those garages don't fit the new modern cars, so we did work with Parking Authority to ticket less when it wasn't as necessary, or when someone wasn't obstructing pedestrians or turning on corners. So they have gone a little lighter in this area because they understand the way that the homes are constructed really isn't conducive to the parking situation. And some of the things that we're continuing to do is making sure that the no parking from here to the corner signs are in the right place. Sometimes we find that they're further back from the corner than they need to be, so we move those up, adding more parking. And what we've also done in Greenville is change certain streets to angled parking on one side, and that has added more car space. So if there are opportunities for us to do those things, then we definitely want to do those to increase some spots for our residents.
I think those are great ideas for the ever-present parking situation in Jersey City. We're a victim of our own success because people like coming here, and sometimes they come with cars, and there's only a finite amount of space to go. So these innovative ways to figure out parking is always going to be very helpful. And finally, we're going to change track. We're going to do our one non-healthcare related question. We're going to do education. What specific steps would you take to make local school and youth programs more equitable across neighborhoods?
Okay, so one of the things that we're actually working on now, I'm advocating for a recreation center in each ward. So the Ward A Recreation Center I'm proposing is being built from the ground up. I've already secured the first $1 million of funding for that. So it is a real project. It is a real thing. It is one of the reasons I'm running for a third term, because nobody knows what's going to happen in January, right? We'll have all new leadership, an entire new administration, new directors. So there are certain things such as this recreation center that I want to make sure we continue to move forward no matter who is there. So we've gotten it very far along in this last year, as I said, already securing funding. So we want to continue that push. So I believe that one of the things we can do is make sure that we have options in each ward, such as a recreation center in each ward. When I was younger, we would kind of float from ward to ward. You know, I would go to the pool at Persianville. We live down here, but I don't see as much of that anymore. And the city has more people. It's more crowded. People want more options that are close to their homes. So we definitely have to look into making sure that what's happening in one area of the city, that those options are available in other areas of the city. So we want it to be as equitable as possible and make sure everyone has access to recreation.
Thank you so much, Denise. Those are all great responses. So hopefully our listeners and our constituents will be able to make a most qualified decision they can make on who to vote for this coming ways. Would you like to close us out?
Sure. I would say Denise Ridley, 9C. I'm asking for your vote because I want to continue the work that we've started together. Over the last 8 years, I've been able to accomplish a lot in this seat, and we have more to go. And I need your help to get there. It's a group project. Ward A residents have always supported me, and that's why we have been successful at getting things done. So, 9C, Tuesday, November 4th. You can go vote early as well, but looking forward to continuing that work and moving Ward A forward with you.
Thank you, Ms. Denise.